This happened back in what I like to call the before times, when the internet still felt like magic. When you registered for college classes over the phone. When records weren't protected by 5 layers of cybersecurity and biometric scans. I was enrolled at my local junior college. Just a regular guy, figuring life out. A little into the semester, my girlfriend, I'll call her Lucy, and I decided to move in together to save money. It wasn't glamorous. Cheap apartment. Thin walls. Hand-me-down furniture. But it was ours. One night, Lucy mentioned she invited a friend from class over for game night. Her name's Sarah. She said, "She's cool." I shrugged. The more the merrier. That night ended up being one of those unexpectedly perfect evenings. Pizza boxes stacked on the counter. Cards scattered across the coffee table. Laughter bouncing off the walls. And then I recognized her. Sarah. We'd gone to high school together. Not best friends. Not enemies. Just 2 people who knew each other's names and occasionally shared a joke. We picked up like no time had passed. After that, she started coming over more often. Dinner, board games, movies, sometimes. She brought her boyfriend. J. And from the first time he walked into our apartment, something felt off. He didn't sit, he perched. He didn't laugh. He observed. Arms crossed. Jaw tight. Eyes scanning the room like he was auditing it. If someone cracked a joke, he'd barely smirk. If Sarah laughed too loud, his eyes would flick toward her. Possessive. Control. Uncomfortable. We kept inviting him out of politeness. For Sarah's sake. But even she seemed more relaxed when he wasn't around. Then one night, everything changed. Lucy's phone rang. It was Sarah. Crying. Not sniffles. Not dramatic hiccups. Full broken sobs. "Can I come over?" She showed up 20 minutes later, mascara streaked, shoulders shaking, and the story poured out. Jay had been furious that she came over to our place too much. Accused her of cheating. With me. With Lucy. Both didn't matter. In his mind, she was guilty. He'd called her names. Ugly names. The kind that stick in your ears long after they're spoken. When she tried to leave, he stepped in front of the door. She tried to walk around him. He shoved her. Hard. She fell backward over the coffee table. Lucy later told me about the bruise. Massive. Purple and black blooming across her lower back. She says it was an accident. Lucy whispered, but I felt something inside me. Snap. I remember the exact sensation. Heat rising up my spine. My jaw locking. My hands curling. Into fists before I even realized they had. You. Don't put your hands on women. You don't intimidate someone you claim to love, and you don't make my friends. Cry in my living room. I wanted to beat him. Senseless. I imagined it. Knocking on his door. Watching. His smug expression crumbled. But here's the thing. I'm a big guy, but I've never been in a fight. In violence. That's not me. Still. That doesn't mean I'm powerless, and that's when it hit me. Because during the day, I worked in the administration building at the college. Student. Employee. Filing paperwork. Answering. Phones. Processing enrollment changes. I had access. Access to schedules. Access to fees. Access to everything. And the deadline was approaching, the last possible day to drop or add classes without penalties. And idea formed. Not loud. Not chaotic. Precise. I looked him up in the system. There it was. His student ID. His schedule. His future. Neatly arranged in rows and columns. And I remembered something else. J wasn't just a student. He was an international student. To stay in the country. He had to be enrolled in a minimum number of units. If he wasn't, his visa could be revoked. I stared at the screen for a long time. Was it too far? Was I crossing a line? Then I pictured Sarah's voice cracking as she said, "I think it was just an accident." No. He crossed the line first. On the very last day to change schedules. I went to the dedicated enrollment phones in the administration building back then. That's how you did it. No internet portal. Just phones and a system that trusted whoever had the ID number. I dialed in, entered his student ID. And one by one, I dropped every single class. Click. Gone. Click. Gone. Click. Gone. Then I went a step further. I searched for every class available with a course fee. Lab fees. Equipment fees. Materials fees. And I enrolled him in as many as I could. If you owed money to the school, they locked everything down. No transcripts. No enrollment verification. Nothing. When I hung up the phone, my hands were shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline. It was done. And then I waited. I didn't tell Lucy. Didn't tell Sarah. Didn't tell a soul. I didn't even check his records again for a while. I didn't want a trail leading back to me, but I got a front row seat to one. Part of the fallout Sarah had broken up with him the night after he shoved her. She was terrified of seeing him again. They had an English class together on Tuesdays. The following Tuesday, she went. He was there. Standing. Because there weren't enough seats. The professor looked confused. More bodies than names on the roster. Let's take roll. One by one, names were called. Students answered. Sarah's name. Here. And then nothing. Jay's name never came. He raised his hand. I'm in this class. The professor checked the official roster. You're not on my list. Apparently someone from the wait list had taken his spot after I dropped. Him. Jay argued. Voice rising, face flushing. But the professor just shrugged. If you're not on the roster, you're not enrolled. Sarah said she never saw him in that class again. Weeks later, curiosity got the better of me. I looked him up. The fee-heavy classes I'd added. Gone, but so were all the others. No schedule. No enrollment. Nothing. I don't know if he got kicked out. I don't know if he had to leave the country. I don't know how messy it got, and I didn't try to find out, because for me, the important part was this. Sarah never had to sit in a classroom with him again. He lost control, he lost his routine, he lost the comfort of normalcy, and maybe he learned that actions have consequences. I sometimes picture that moment in the classroom. Jay standing there, confident at first. Then confused, then panicked, realizing the system he thought was solid beneath his feet had vanished, that he wasn't enrolled, that he didn't exist. At least not on paper. The same way he tried to diminish Sarah. The same way he tried to control her. For once, he wasn't the one in power, and I'll admit, when Sarah told us he wasn't on the roster, I slept very well that night. Sometimes I wonder if it was too harsh. If I went too far. But then I remember that Bruise, the fear in her voice, the way he thought he could shove someone and get away with it. And I think this. Maybe the world needs fewer punches and more consequences. If this story made your jaw clench or your heart race, hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell me, was this justified or too far? And if you love stories where karma doesn't just knock, it kicks the door down, subscribe. Because trust me, there's plenty more revenge where that came from.